Welcome to the Seven Figure Leaders podcast. This podcast was created to celebrate the success stories of seven-figure business owners, giving them a platform to share their insights and lessons learned in order to inspire other business owners. As well as that, it's an opportunity to build new connections. So if you're a seven-figure business owner or someone who works with seven-figure business owners and you're looking for introductions to potential stakeholders, strategic partners and clients, I'd love to hear from you or have you on as a guest and see if I can help make those connections for you. Just go to synergycfosolutions.co. That's synergycfosolutions.co and click podcast. And there you'll find the link to apply. Welcome. And today we've got Mark Blacklee from Kuro. Welcome, Mark.
On Tom. Thanks for having me.
So why don't you give us a bit of background as to who Kuro is, what Kuro does, and what you're all about?
Yeah, so Kuro's a PPC agency. So my background's kind of in performance marketing for 20 years now, just shy of. Kuro's always had a performance edge to it. So it started out doing website development and PPC, as two went very much hand in hand. And then over the years, just pivoted it purely into a performance agency maybe 10 years ago. Just with the need of the clients we were working with at the time, were heavily focused kind of more on the performance side. So that's where we took it. And that's what we've been kind of driving at for, I think it was 16 years old, 2 months back.
16 years. Okay. So you've been at it a while. So what does performance agency mean exactly?
Just for me, it's just we drive performance. So we're not a lot of agencies out there, build a website and they build a website to do a job. So a company comes to them and applies and says, we want a website. They will build one. Off it goes. Our remit was always to drive results. So results driven has been something that an agency has used for a long time and over probably lent on it too much. But for me, it was just we drive performance. Our goal is to get under the skin of a client's business. So when someone says, I want a website, we ask why, what's the purpose of that website and how is it, what's the commercial goals of the business? How's the website moving towards that? What are you trying to do in this next quarter, this next year, the next 5 years, whatever it is? What's the need for why you need some PPC campaigns? We all want more customers, but equally anyone can do that. Or some more sales, for example, if it's through an e-commerce website. Our remit has always been, well, we see a client at like level 1 at this level of revenue, but they want to be at level 5 in the next 5 years, which is far for what they're doing, for example. And it's our job to go and perform and make that happen, I guess.
So you do everything. You do the website, you do the pay-per-click, you do the SEO, the whole lot.
No, we don't. We work with partners on that side of things, and then that's a little bit about what I guess, obviously I'll talk probably a little bit about what we're trying to do going forward. But yeah, we've always brought partners in on that. So we used to deliver on the website, but for the last 10 years or so of our journey, it's just been the PPC. We normally plug into that agency kind of mix, if you like, which has been how we've grown our business because we only do PPC. Web partner, website developers need what we do, we need what they do, SEO, that kind of thing. But we typically try and work with clients where we also like the CMO role. We go in and we want to be the lead agency. We want to be the ones. PPC is a little bit of digital marketing 101. So it's where you want to really start. It's a great starting point to understand what the market's doing, what keywords are going to generate, and you can work out from there. Then what we want to do is work with an SEO partner to sort of say, look, there's an organic opportunity on this side of things. There's a paid social or even just organic social on this. We need to tweak the website because people aren't buying, they can't find a buy now button for whatever reason it is, basically. So we work with partners to deliver a lot of that market mix.
I see. Okay. And so what's the journey you've been on then over the last 16 years or so? How did it start and how's it and how have you arrived at where you are today?
So it started out, I was working for an agency. I had no idea what Google Ads was. Went to work there. That didn't work out. So that agency no longer exists. But I wasn't done with it. I kind of really didn't feel like I'd had a fair crack at it and really, really enjoyed the work how old would I be then? 19, 20-year-old, something like that. Really enjoyed it. Thought, like at that age in life, it was beer money on a Saturday. You had to go and cover, wasn't it? So I talked Jonathan, my business partner, into coming along with me. So he brings the website development experience. And we just said, do you know what? Let's give it a go. Let's set out. So we started with Teesside University in a business incubation scheme, where went through that, found some work, got really busy. You know what it's like. You get a client, you get your first few clients, and we were head down, backside up, really working away on it. And then we were like, we don't make great money because we've only charged these clients a few £100, but they're making a fortune because the work's good. So we knew we were good at it. Then we had to kind of learn the business aspect of it to go, well, you know, what hourly rate do we want to charge? How many hours are we going to deliver on? Basic common stuff. Then we got to the point where you need to make staff, you need to hire staff because you've got too many clients, you know, and it was, yeah, I think for me, the journey's always been, we've made every mistake going, but it's never been fatal. You know, we've always been open to trying something. I guess is that's probably the very definition of innovation, isn't it? If you boil it all down, but we've always been willing to give something a go. Um, and yeah, and then over the years, I think probably we did work with the university a little bit closer. We did bring in some consultants to work with us to formalize a lot of the agency stuff. So, you know, make sure the work we're doing is at the value it should be. So when we're making clients, you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds every month, we're getting paid fairly for that. You know, we understand what a good hire looks like. We understand what processes are in the business, how to pass that work down the chain, all that kind of really interesting, boring, however, which side of the coin you sit on, this kind of stuff. Um, and yeah, we've been just trying to grow for probably six years. We really ramped it up. We were very picky and choosy about which clients we wanted to work with. Um, through I'd probably say key periods of life. So myself and Jonathan both have children now. So we were very fortunate we could pick and choose the work we wanted during them periods. And then we got to the point where we said, you know what, we really want to grow. And we went for it. And then obviously COVID happened and it's been an interesting time since. And now we're on kind of a bit of a different journey with agency stuff. But it's been fun.
Brilliant. And so, what are the kind of main challenges you faced along that way? So, I guess the first main one that you mentioned that sounded like it could have been a challenge was when you first started hiring people and bringing on a team.
Yeah, I guess everything. If you think of a formal business at hiring, firing was a challenge. So we definitely learned the lesson of hire slow, fire fast. Um, that one, yeah, I could tell you some stories. I won't bore you with them. So yeah, we made every mistake in that regard. We actually one of the biggest challenges just setting the business up. I think we probably, have you heard the phrase slow down to speed up?
Yeah.
We very much just again trying things. So when we first set the business up, we got to like 9 months in, we had some clients, we had some revenue. We thought everything's going great, and we met our first accountant. So a lady called Justine, I met her at a network event. Really good to us. I sent her off all the information she requested from us to file our first ever year-end accounts. I was very excited, and she phoned me up and said, "You do realise you've incorporated your company wrong?" And I thought, "How'd you do that?" So when we incorporated the company, we sat in it was my girlfriend at the time, her parents' house, my now wife. And we got to the point where it said company name, and you didn't even have a company name for it. And Jonathan, my business partner, was sorting it. And then he asked about the shares. So I turned around and went, well, obviously Manchester United, I think I'd read something about how many they'd issued shares or they'd done something as a PLC. And I went, well, they've got like millions of shares. So should we just have 100,000 each? That sounds really like 100,000, 50,000 each. That sounds like a really good number. I think that was the number. And then what obviously the issue that caused was we'd issued that as share capital, I believe. So it meant we had a tax bill for about £13,000 each. So we had to go and pay a legal person to fix the articles of association to say it was a mistake. And so yeah, that hiring, we've just got on and figured it out. I think we've made probably far worse mistakes that they still haven't tripped us up. So we're all good.
Yeah. And throughout that process, what I often hear is, obviously you guys started the business because you're experts in marketing, and that was your kind of focus. And very often business owners are experts at what they do, but they're not necessarily numbers people. And obviously when you run a business, you have to look after the numbers. You have to look after your cash flow, profitability. Otherwise it ends up kind of catching up with you. Have you faced any problems relating to cash flow or profitability over the years?
Yes. Oh, loads. So again, I guess you probably tied back to hiring. And the biggest cash flow one was we just tied it to revenue, which in the agency space is far more common than you'd think. You just think more clients, more heads, more work, more money, and it does not. It never works out that way. So yeah, we had a point where We got the team to about 5 or 6. We had loads of good work coming in. We'd won some probably more regional clients, but we were really happy. We sort of took stock, and we spent the next kind of 6 months, maybe. It felt like 6 months. It could have been 2 weeks, could have been 6 months. Looking going, we've never had more work. We've never had more people. We've never charged more than we ever have now on like an hourly rate. But we don't have any cash in the bank. It's not the bank balance is not growing. In fact, I think it was going the other way. And then it was a case of just, yeah, we had a really interesting. So the thing that went wrong with our cash flow there was, again, going back to it, we had the wrong team in that were doing the bare minimum, passing off the work as high value, but we had the wrong set of clients. So we had a guy come in and look at we gave him the cash flow thing, and he drew us one of them. It's like a plus sign, and you have your boxes. I forget what you call it. And he said, "What? Sorry."
Was it a cash flow forecast?
No, it wasn't a cash flow forecast. It was basically just this, like across the y-axis or the x-axis, whichever way you look at it, was like enjoyment or something, and then it was finances or something along the left. And it was basically plot all your clients, and the ones you didn't enjoy working with were the ones that never paid the bills. So actually, we didn't realize, because we were manually invoicing. We had one client that owed us something like a couple of £1,000, but when that doesn't sound like a lot, but we were charging him like £400 a month for whatever it was we were dealing for him at the time. And we just hadn't realized he hadn't been paying invoices for 6 months. And we had quite a lot of that. And then it was a case of, I think I jumped ahead there. So that guy helped us solve, like, these clients you don't enjoy working with, they're the ones that ring you up at 9 o'clock on Friday night demanding stuff, but they actually don't pay your bills and nobody likes them anyway. So get shot. But yeah, cash flow, we had that issue. So we weren't cracking invoicing and all that properly. And then we had a big over servicing problem as well. So what we were doing is we were like, this client's been really good to us. They're in a struggling industry at the moment or something. We'll just give them more work. And what we found was they might have been paying us like 500 quid, £1,000, whatever it was back then. But we were spending sort of like £6,000 worth of time on it. And then when we were sort of paying the team and going, well, we need to grow because there's no money in, when we thought we had the revenue problem, we didn't. We had a profitability problem, and you had nowhere to go. And we were like, well, we can't afford to hire someone else to go and win more revenue. But back then, it sounds common sense that, and like I almost want to, kick myself for it. But when a lot of agency owners, and we speak to a lot now that just don't understand that, they just go, well, we make £1 million a year, but we do 100 grand revenue, 100 grand net profit, so we'll just do 2 million and we'll do 200. And you go, no. So yeah, probably that.
Yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing. The problems that you just mentioned there are, as you said, they're very common. And very often business owners assume that just by the way to solve the problems in the business is by closing more sales or making more revenue. And actually, if you've got structural problems within the business and you're not profitable enough, or you're not actually collecting cash, then more revenue means more problems. It doesn't mean more cash. So what you highlighted there is really interesting. Any others that you faced along the way? One thing I often hear of is not really having the foresight of when an employee is going to start paying off in terms of an investment. With marketing agencies in particular, is that something you faced or not? Not really.
No, I think we got that wrong from day one and didn't realize it for a long time. So it probably, although it's definitely a challenge, and I'd 100% agree with what you said, we probably didn't register on that scale of challenges because we just glazed right over the top of it. But yes, it is a huge challenge, understanding that when people come in, that I think people expect, certainly with hires, was to get it right. They're not going to come in day one and just suddenly transform things. And you also want to give them, like what we did was we thought we had a really bulletproof way of working with that person, but they came in with fresh ideas, and we almost wanted to sort of go, no, like you were the square peg in the round hole sort of thing, and actually take the time to understand, because they will tell you something like we did it different. If you put two people together that do things completely different, there is a middle ground.
Yeah.
That normally can be better, because essentially no system and no process is perfect. And actually it'll have weaknesses as well as strengths. And actually if they can come in and improve on the weaknesses, you are a lot better off for that. So yes, understanding that. But I think everything's downstream of cash flow. I think getting that correct, understanding understanding what your hourly rate is, what your capacity looks like. So a lot of agencies in this space don't understand they'll say, well, we've got loads of capacity. because they just want to put, because what they really mean is we need the money in, or
Yeah.
we need more money in. But understanding your revenue capacity to understand when you actually need to hire, because in the agency space you get the term, and it's probably the same, hire ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And a lot of people hire way ahead of the curve, and then that just causes cash flow problems down the line, and then they end up firing good people that just were never given a good chance, and they'll blame the hiring kind of side of that for getting it wrong, when actually it was agency process, I guess, finance, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's actually what I was getting at with my question. It's kind of not hiring at the right point, and really what it boils down to is cash flow. It's knowing when the right time to hire is, knowing how long it's going to take for that person to pay off from an investment perspective, and then making the decision around that. So as you said, not hiring too early, because if you do it too early, then it's none of it's going to make sense. You've got to do it when it makes sense from a revenue and profitability perspective.
Yeah, and then a lot of that is understanding, again, with agencies, is new business. They don't understand how it comes in, how the pipeline works.
Yeah.
So occasionally it comes and they've got that big project that we weren't sure about. It's now dropped and they want it done yesterday. And they don't have it, and that's twofold, because they didn't have the process for saying, well, no, we're not going to deliver it yesterday. Because we've gone through the process properly and gone, we need an answer by X because we're going to start at Y. And this project's going to run for so long, which means we complete here, and then you can break down each individual part or whatever it is. That then informs you go, well, we've just won a £300,000 web build, or we just won a 60,000 PPC retained contract. We now need to hire for it, but you understand when and where it's coming in. It gives you the chance. Whereas somebody goes, well, we're going to hire for that and hope we win it. And I've seen that one the other way as well. And then they hire, they incur the cost, and then don't win the work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then you've got the exact same thing you just said there, financial issues. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what's next for the business? What's next for Kuro?
We are completely trying to pivot our entire performance marketing digital agency thing, if you want to call it that. So we spent about 12 months trying to bolt on an acquisition into Kuro, and grow via acquisition that way, just to solve a few of the hiring issues that, like, we've never had we've had a couple of positive experiences, but we've in the main got it wrong. We had an acquisition opportunity drop in our lap, and that made a lot of sense. So we had, at the time, we were at that fork in the road where we went, well, we can go down, we can go left, and we can hire these two people that are going to cost us an insane amount of money, that want to work remotely, that want this freedom, that freedom, and we've never met them and we don't know them, and all we can do is hope we've interviewed them correctly and the references are okay. Or we can take the right road, or the path to the right, and which was acquisition. Whereas at the time we had an agency lined up that had two staff members in, but they'd been with the business, I think, something like 15 years combined. They had revenue attached. So it was like, well, they're obviously very good at what they do, and they come with revenue attached. Yeah. And then when we looked at the revenue attached, then to the agency, that agency itself had a new business. They didn't have a new business problem, but they just didn't win a lot of work. We were capable of winning it. We were just couldn't find the people to service it.
Yeah.
Essentially. So it made sense. We spent a lot of time doing that. And then over the years, again, going back to what I said at the start, like we've always played nice with other agencies, but having a partner network now is ridiculously hard work. I think agency world's tough, and people are the first ones to go out the door, the partners. So we've certainly noticed it. We've had partnerships with other agencies where we're delivering about £10,000 worth of work. And we've, again, going back to challenges, client dilution. If you're trying to buy a business or sell a business, client concentration, sorry. If you've got one client paying you, 70% of your revenue, you're kind of dependent on them. Yeah. And we ended up in that boat, not quite 70%, but large chunks of percentage of turnover were tied up with these agency partners. And we thought it's fine because then partnerships were made up of multiple clients. But actually, what would happen is it get to you'd build it for them, and you were just building PPC departments in these companies, and they were just on hire. Or what normally happened was they'd hire someone into a different role, and they'd go, well, I used to do PPC at blah, 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 blah. And it would be gone. And then you were literally living that boom and bust of agency world when you were trying to get away from it. So we're currently building BC24. So what we want to do is have a performance marketing group, where we encompass web, PPC, SEO, paid social, all those kinds of things. And we bring people in together who want to work in a partnership, collaborative way, but who are interested in looking to exit the business inside kind of 10 to 5 years. So whether they're ready to exit now, and they want out for whatever reason, or whether they're thinking about building an asset to sell down the line, we want to work with those people to come into our group to be able to basically solve all those agency problems we've chatted about this morning as well. So, putting proper cash flow place into some place, doing new business for them properly, making sure they've got proper operations and stuff in place. They're not heavily reliant on one or two accounts within the business. And yeah, then I'll look to exit together in sort of 5 years' time.
And so you're looking for business owners who are looking to exit further down the line, or who want to exit right now and that you can take over their operations?
Both. So we're looking for agency owners now, but in the 18 months we've been having conversations with agency owners, I think we've only met one or two that actually are ready to exit now.
Yeah.
And when I say are ready to exit, in terms of what they have, so the business isn't reliant on them as a founder. The agency wins new business, not the founder. The operations and the day-to-day of the business are managed by the team that would still be in the business when the founder's left. We meet and then equally those people that we've met there, they overvalue massively what they have as well. So they want 7 to 8 times multipliers because that's what they heard so and so got bought for. And you think, well, yes, they did, but they also turned over like £15 million and netted about £5 million. You turn over 2 million. It's different. It's a different ball game at that stage. So yes, anyone's ready to exit. Probably most of the ready to exit now out of maybe personal circumstances. We can work with those sorts of exits. But yeah, really with people who probably very good operators in their own right. Like I think you hit the nail on the head earlier. You get a lot of people starting agency because they're a very good web developer or a very good PPC person, but they have no clue on the commercial side and being creative, maybe they're probably not interested in it either. But those people who've ended up, that accidental entrepreneur that has built an agency to a sizable bit realizes that probably took it as far as they can get and need help. Yeah, we want to work with those people to push through that ceiling, I guess.
Yeah, brilliant. And so the way that would look, and obviously I know it's deal dependent and everything is going to vary, but fundamentally you're going to bring them into your group, give them shares in your group, and then you go on that exit journey together.
Yeah, we want to work with them. We solve some problems, but growth being the main one. So further acquisitions. So we're starting quite a lot of deals at the minute where there's an agent, like an operator in a business that's ready to sell. Well, it's not the right deal for me to do, but as a bolt on to other companies, it would be perfect. And we want to go on that acquisition path with them. We want to help them solve the key issues in the business, and then basically help them exit. So people who are looking to grow scale and then equally want an exit 3 to 5 years down the line. And the way we're going to do that is we've got a few people that want an exit sooner than some of the other ones who we're having conversations with at the minute. They can either exit their full shares into us as BC24 and exit to us, or they can exit as part of the larger exit down the line. So what we want to do is create 2 for them. So we've had a lot of conversations with people who've got a little bit of cash in the bank, built an agency up and realized that again, going back to that analogy of the fork in the road, to go, I don't want to spend that money and get it wrong and bring down the house. But I'd quite like if I could take some equity off. I'm not ready to sell it as a whole, but if I could take some equity off the table, get some cash now, get a new partner on board, work with them, they help me grow further. That if I give up 20% equity, for example, that 80% becomes far more valuable than the 100% ever would alone.
Yeah. Brilliant. So you're looking for introductions to agency owners who are looking to exit either now or at some point over the next 3 to 5 years.
Who are thinking of an exit? Yeah. Anyone in that broad lane. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, Mark. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you on as a guest on the podcast. Is there anything else you want to share before we end it?
No, just thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you very much.
Pleasure, Mark, and wishing you all the best on your acquisition journey.
Thank you very much, Tom. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. As I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, this podcast was created to celebrate the success stories of 7-figure business owners, giving them a platform to share their insights and lessons learned in order to inspire other business owners. As well as that, it's an opportunity to build new connections. So if you're a 7-figure business owner or someone who works with 7-figure business owners and you're looking for introductions to potential stakeholders, strategic partners and clients, I'd love to hear from you or have you on as a guest and see if I can help make those connections for you. Just go to synergycfosolutions.co. That's synergycfosolutions.co and click podcast. On that page, you'll find the link to apply.